Okay. You're live. Hello, good to meet you here again, to see you for the Israelis among us. Well, of course, good morning. I wish you a wonderful day. Today, I would like to have a small, a short chat about innovation in the adjacent spaces. And I think this is very crucial for our time, which are times of disruptive technologies, changes, and we are really heading into a real revolution that the human race have never seen before. You already heard me talking about that, so I don't want to waste more of your time about this subject, so let's plunge in. So first of all, okay, Leo, okay, what is really innovation in the adjacent spaces? The essence of it is how can we take the core capabilities that we built over so long, it might be sometimes decades and even beyond that, of our capabilities, and use them to create for us a better future as a company. And to do that, in a sense, I would say, it's not really immediately, but in the short term and the medium term. So this is the essence of it. So how do you do it? And before I want to present the 5 major questions that I think you have to ask when you want to do that, I want to tell you 2 stories and how it, and then I think it's easier to learn when you have a story and you learn from it. So in 1975, everybody knows that this was a very important year when we are talking about innovation, because this was the year that, Sassoon put on the table, on the Kodak management, in the boardroom, he put the first digital camera and says, this is the future, this is a filmless camera, which was, of course, was a huge mistake, because the main revenue and profits of the company were from dealing with the films, but this is another story. But so everybody, when they're thinking about this year, usually focus about what happened in Kodak. But I think the more interesting story is what happened in the other side of the world, in Japan, and in a company called Fuji, which was also a very, very important player within the film and the camera industry. So what happened is that the management of this company this year, they had a problem. The problem was that there was a shortage of copper in this year. People don't remember that. So the company didn't have enough, materials in order to create, to manufacture all the cameras that usually she's manufacturing and selling. So the management is sitting around the board table and asking herself, first of all, an interesting question: what can we do if we won't have enough copper ever? How can we produce cameras for people to take pictures? So what they do, they start working on a digital cameras. Some of what we call the urban tales are that they even bought some of the Kodak licensing and so forth. So this is why Kodak could continue, for 20 more years to progress, or at least to exist, let's say. But so this, this is a bold move, but I think there is another story relating to Fuji, which is much more inspiring at least in my view. Because the second question they asked themselves was, what if people would never like to take any pictures with cameras? This is 95. We don't see neither the Apple nor the BlackBerry, neither each of these devices that right now are a part of, our essentials to our well-being and living, on the everyday chores that we have. So what they are thinking, what can we do? And I think this is real bravery, because this is really asking an existential question. Will I cease to exist if I can't use my core capabilities to what I've been doing for so many years? Or can I take them and do something else with them? Can I go beyond the horizon and find new destiny? So what they're asking themselves, so what are our core capabilities? And they came out with a very straightforward answers. We are very good in dealing with chemicals. This is what we know to do. We are expert on that. So what they did, they started scouting on different categories and different industries and so forth, and they got to the conclusion that this very interesting and very unique capability that they have dealing with the chemicals and so forth is relevant to a total different category, a total different industry, which is the cosmetic industry. And so they went and they created a very successful brand in the East, but I think we should look beyond that, because it's not only that they created a new business, which of course is amazing, but beyond that, when you look about the structure and the culture of the Japanese nation, it's extremely rigid. We know that. They are tied to their tradition, they respect the tradition, they're doing anything in their power to keep and cling to the tradition. We know that as a result, just to give an example, they have a problem with marriage because women are not willing anymore to go into the path of their ancestors and become, housewives that do nothing. So young women are not willing to get married. They says we don't need it anymore. For what do we need to get married? So as a result of what, of course, there is a decline in the amount of children and so forth. So just to give you an idea, we usually need 2.4 children to create, the next generation that will take care of the previous one. Japanese are far away from it. The Japanese nation is far away from it. So this, I think, is remarkable that this, extremely main, I would nearly say, prejudiced against women, in a sense, society, okay, that this company, within this, environment, cultural environment, general cultural environment, are taking a leap and getting rid of the prejudice and asking themselves, how can we move forward from a very, I would say, masculine a category to a very feminine one? And I think once you do this kind of mindset in the way you think, then anything is not beyond you. You can start dream big. So when we look right now about how the group is being created, you see that they're going to so many different places and so different domains. And more than that, I'm not sure that you're aware of it, but when the coronavirus started, the Prime Minister of Japan announced that he's shipping to Europe 2 million. I think it wasn't small molecules. I think it was a kind of a medicine that can assist to severe, I would say, patient with COVID, because they already created something for that. Dealing with respiration problems and so forth. And this startup is a part of Fuji. So just to give you an idea, when you start looking at this and you look long terms, which is also a crucial, of course, I believe it's going to be crucial thinking method and mindset for the future. When you are taking the long view, you're looking what are your core capabilities, where can you go to, where can you do something with it, then you're creating yourself a different future. Another story I want to tell you is, of course, a story about Steve Jobs. And what people don't recall is that Steve Jobs, he was chased out of his company in the middle of the 80s, and then I think it was 1997, he's coming back after 12 years that he was away. He is, of course, smarter and so forth, but he's coming to a company which, is far away from being successful. Because this is a time, that there are huge pressure in the market because, the computer, the personal computer is becoming nearly a commodity. So there are strong stress in this category. On top of it, the Mac was never a great business. It was always only 30%. I think the market share was never more than 30%. I think also today. So it's a marvelous, product, and I use it. I'm certainly, devoted to it, and I'm dedicated to it, and I'm totally in love with it. But it's not a great business. And so this was the first issue. So the company is not doing this so well. There is a lot of stress in the market, to cut down the prices and the revenues and so forth. And on top of it, you have, of course, the crash, the dot-com crash. And in the middle of this crisis, and I emphasize it because I think some of us are relating to the current situation as a crisis, he's taking his best 100 people. And he asked them, how can we create a different future? How can we take the great capabilities that we created of computer, creating computer, and take it to these core capabilities, finding other domains, other categories, other industries that we can use this, our capability to disrupt these markets. So where are the opportunity? Which markets are getting, bigger? Which are flourishing? Where the growth is coming from there? And how can we tackle it? And how can we use our core capabilities? And so what they do, they create this map. And what is very interesting is that on January 2001, he get on stage and he says, this is our strategy. We are going to create all these devices, and we are going to do it better than our competitors. It's like, it's like a message of war, I'm going to go into the personal, I think it was called, I forgot, the pen pal, and I'm going to go into the DVD, and I'm going to go to all this market, and I'm going to give a better answer than the main competitors. And just to remind you, he had wonderful competitors over there. No one was waiting for him. Sony definitely wasn't waiting for him with the Walkman and so forth. What he did say on the stage on that day is that they are also going to look for opportunities to create them themselves, meaning he wasn't looking for creating a collaboration or cooperation with other competitors, but to do it in-house. And the other thing he didn't say is that they are going to look for ways to make them easier, smaller, much more user-friendly, and relevant to the other way of using computers, meaning on the go. Meaning moving the computer from being something which is stable, which is on your desktop, on your table or whatever, and you work with it. Meaning it's becoming a moving part that is totally accelerating your pace while you're walking or whatever you're doing, and it's becoming a part of your body. So I think these are crucial thinking. And the other thing that he put on the table, which is so like him, is what are going to be the desire of the consumers and the clients. And I keep reminding us that the companies that are going to win in the future are only the ones that are going to be, I would say, customer-centric, if not customer-obsessive. It's better to be customer-obsessive more than anything else, I think, looking into the future. So this is what he's putting on the table in 2001. Now let's look what they have in 2015, okay? So he's really walking, they are walking the talk, and every time in order to progress, they ask themselves, what do we need? What extra do we need? What other technology we should develop, okay? And we know that they are usually counting on themselves. Right now, this year, they created the new chip that they presented last year, and now they're going forward with this. They're talking now about, of course, well, it's not over here, but the driverless car, meaning that we're talking about the autonomous car, and of course, they are upgrading the Apple Watch. So I think it's very interesting because on one hand, he was asking himself, okay, what is the short-term or mid-term opportunity, but also how can I use it to leverage my capability to other domains which are going to become later in time? Because at 2001, no one thought about the Apple Watch. And we know right now it's crucial because when Apple, the CEO of Apple, when he was asked 2 years ago, what is going to be the most important contribution of Apple to humankind, he says it's not going to be the iPhone or anything like it. It's going to be the contribution to healthcare, because they're moving this, and I'm using it, of course, but they're using it right now to assist us in augmenting our capability to quantify ourselves, meaning taking responsibility and ownership of our own health, meaning really, scanning our body and finding out whatever is happening in our body. And every year they are better opportunities. So I want to say, in any case, because I hear people around me keeping telling me, there is no reason to buy the new Apple Watch, the new Apple iPhone. I disagree with this, because if you're looking into the bits and bytes, you see that every year there is huge improvement. You just have to look for them and not to look at the surface. And what is very interesting is that when he got on stage and he presented the first iPhone, he didn't say to his people, we created the best competitor in the telecom or mobile phone or whatever competitors. We have created the best computer, because he had the long view and he understood that we want the consumer and the clients, that the iPhone will be on, that we, in a sense, I would say it another way. Most companies are thinking that people want technology to be an extension of themselves. I think he got it differently, reverse. He understood that in some senses, we want to be extended by technology, or that we become extent of technology. So it might sound like a minor difference, but I'm not sure about it. I think there is something deeper than that. So we really, and Kevin Cayley is all the time talking about, is our desire to converge with technology. And he's talking about the fact that when we're talking about, singularity, and, people are thinking singularity is going to happen in 2040, 50, and so forth. And Kevin Cayley keep telling us, no, it already happened the first time we created language, because we immerse, and also language is also a technology. So once you take these deep, I think, method of thinking, and you combine them with good sense of business, I think you can go a long way. So just to show you how did it look, and how does it, and what is also interesting, just to put just another note, is that they were calling it innovation into white spaces. So I think this is also a term that you can use and ask yourself, where are the white spaces? Okay, so there you go. And just to give us the idea, how does it mean, translated in the end to economical value? So look at the numbers. And what we can see is that this year is even bigger. I mean, it became, I think, the biggest company, the American company right now on NASDAQ. And look what is happening regarding the revenue, where the revenue streams, where they're coming from, and look what's happening, and how services are really right, meaning, which is really, it's according to everything we know about the digital economy, that you move from, from durable and to something which is on the cloud, services which are totally digital, and it's going to be, of course, faster during the coming few years. So this is another thing I think we should take into account. So when you're thinking about the adjacent space, think whether this is going to be for you a platform to create services or products which are digitized. Okay, so before we end, I just want to say that I think, and this is a quote from my teacher Salim Ismail, who wrote Exponential Organization, and he said a very interesting thing, I think, in one of the interviews in the last year, when he says, well, we used to think that it's enough to put, in the adjacent space 20%. Well, I think right now we have to divide it differently. I think he says, and I totally agree with him, and I'm inspired by it, that when you're talking about innovation in the coming decade, it's better to put only 40% in the core, and then 30% in the adjacents, and 30% in the edges, which of course are much more complicated for all of us. So just to summarize, these are the main questions I think we should ask ourselves. What are our core capabilities? Where are the relevant markets? Where are the big opportunities? What is really developing right now? And how can we disrupt this, either existing markets or the markets that are being created right now with our unique capabilities, with our core capabilities, and then how it's going to be in line with the needs and the desires. And I think it's crucial to think about desires, because this, when we start not only evaluating, we need to dream on the future, and then we need to evaluate, the gap. So with existing perception and so forth, but I think this is where you should do a lot of work as well. Because most innovation we should know are not relevant to the clients and the consumers. So then if they're not reading, that there is no job needs to be done as our mentor, Clay Christensen, is teaching us over and over, and then there is no sense of going there. So that's it. So 2 small remarks for the end. I have the great privilege and honor to start, a special program with my colleague and mentor, Professor Sam Sagi, who is a brilliant innovator in Ben-Gurion University in the International MBA. We're starting it next week. We're going to give 10 lectures, which are going to cover everything that has to do with innovation within the business world. So we are going to put it here. So because we want everybody to study with us, and we are more than open to discuss how we tackle and how we take these principles into everyday life. Sam has a vast experience in the international market. He's been working with big companies in the United States. Also, he did his PhD and beyond that in MIT and so forth. So I'm totally honored to be, collaborating and working with him, and I look to him as my mentor. And so we are also going to have, real program of how you execute. So it's not going to be only, giving the ideas and giving, the inspirational part of it, but definitely and how you implant these ideas into everyday life, and how can you really, really contribute to the future and be the better future, or of either future-proof yourself, doesn't matter where you're coming from, to the future. So that's it for now. Thank you for everything. I wish you a wonderful day. Yahli.